With all that is going on, worlds within worlds demanding our attention, it can sometimes feel like it's impossible to find those few moments you need, to spend time where you can simply sit back, relax and be still. Understandably, finding peace is something many have been searching for throughout their lives. Inner peace refers to a sense of stillness and restfulness that comes from within, freedom from disturbance or tranquility. Using this definition, inner peace then is a form of inner tranquility that isn't moved by disturbances. When looking towards spiritual traditions, disturbances are often movements of the mind, the kind of intrusive thoughts or difficult emotions we often see in our daily life. A huge focus of schools of thought such as Buddhism and Taoism is to work with practices that cultivate inner peace. In particular, the Buddha's core teaching of the Four Noble Truths is that the whole of human existence is suffering, or dukkha. Suffering, on the other hand, is caused by attachment, either through aversion or craving. The more we become attached to our belongings, achievements, and even people, the more removed we are from our true natures. Both Taoism and Buddhism teach us that nothing in the material world will ever give us deep fulfillment. Everything is impermanent. It's constantly changing, as are our desires, thoughts, likes and dislikes. If we can learn to flow with this impermanence and surrender to it just like the Tao Te Ching teaches us, we will achieve inner peace. Inner peace then is attained through the practice of non-attachment. Non-attachment is a quality of awareness, the backdrop to the constant movement of the mind and the body. It can be the core of a resilient person and a positive psychology, and it can lead to a more positive outcome and a better life. Psychologist Rick Hanson, whose book The Neurodharma brings together research from neuroscience and ancient wisdom, said, "The Buddha pointed toward what is unconditioned, not subject to arising and passing away, and therefore a more reliable basis for lasting happiness and inner peace. As one example, the field of awareness is effectively unconditioned. Experiences change, but awareness is stable." Often we think of peace as the absence of war. This is mirrored by inner peace. How often are we at war with ourselves? How often does the self-critic cause disharmony for our internal landscape? Inner peace is a process of emotional balance and equanimity, a way of finding inner stability in the face of constant change. The Buddhist definition of inner peace involves freedom from suffering and a sense of serenity that comes from acceptance and compassion towards all fleeting phenomena. Those fleeting, transitory phenomena include happiness, hence the counterintuitive nature of finding inner peace. There's a reason inner peace is ingrained in religious or philosophical wisdom. Its nature is difficult to comprehend with the intellect alone. Attaining inner peace isn't only an intellectual exercise, but an embodied practice. The Tao describes how, like nature, one should be in balance, harmony, and simple. Verse 37 of the Tao Te Ching quotes how people will be content with their simple, everyday lives, in harmony and free of desire. When there is no desire, all things are at peace. The Taoist worldview is rooted in a close observation of the patterns of change that exist within the natural world. Taoist history begins with Lao Tzu, the author of the Tao Te Ching, a classic Chinese text written around 500 to 400 BCE. The Tao Te Ching advocates living naturally and freely as you truly are, rather than as who you are supposed to be. We are all one with the Tao, so following the flow of the Tao entails being natural, observing simplicity, and non-action or non-interference instead of acting out of ego and desire. Living in accordance with the Tao on a personal level ripples out into the world we live in, as everything between and including heaven and earth arises from and is a part of the same fabric of existence. The Tao is a symphony in which we are each an instrument, and being natural means playing the notes that are in harmony with the music of the universe. The Tao Te Ching does not present specific instructions or techniques for becoming what it calls a Shengren, a sage who has realized the Tao. However, it does describe how a sage behaves. For example, it states that one should not force things. Instead, one should be tranquil, have no desires, behave naturally, and live simply. This will in turn affect the sage's social and political environment. The words of the Tao Te Ching are as relevant today as they were over 2,000 years ago, and they can be put to practice in our modern lives. The following are practices from the great Taoist sage Lao Tzu in order to cultivate inner peace. Breathing and centering. Can you balance your life force and embrace the One without separation? Can you control your breath gently like a baby? Can you clarify your dark vision without blemish? The Tao Te Ching states that self-cultivation will bring about inner peace and peace in society. Taoist self-cultivation is seen in its abundance of meditation and Qigong forms, practices which focus our awareness on our breath and a flow of qi or a life force through our bodies. These techniques are based on the theories put forth in the Huangdi Nai Jing, the Yellow Emperor's Inner Classic, which is an ancient Chinese text that has been treated as the fundamental doctrinal source of Chinese medicine. The fundamental insight of Qigong in Chinese medicine is that balanced and free-flowing qi results in health, while stagnant or imbalanced qi leads to disease. This is true not only at the level of the human body, but also in terms of natural landscapes, mountains, rivers, forests, and man-made structures, houses, office buildings, and parks. In the same way that an acupuncturist diagnoses energetic imbalances and works to re-establish free-flowing qi in the human body, so does the practitioner of Feng Shui perceive energetic imbalances in natural or man-made landscapes, and then apply various techniques to remedy those imbalances. In both cases, the goal is to establish a more open flow of energy in the particular internal or external environment, and therefore achieving inner peace and eventually recognizing our oneness with the Tao. You can begin to cultivate health by focusing on your breath. Embracing the One without separation means unifying and harmonizing your mind and body so that you can connect to your spirit, which is your direct connection to the Tao. When you're in a stressful state, your breathing becomes rapid and shallow, and your heartbeat accelerates. Quick, shallow breathing makes it harder for your lungs to do their job, which is to supply your body with oxygen and to remove waste and toxins from your bloodstream. Oxygen deprivation allows those toxins to build up in your body, straining your immune system. Poor oxygen supply can lead to premature aging and loss of vitality, and is connected to increased incidence of heart attack and stroke. When you practice meditative breathing, visualize every muscle and cell of your body relaxing and releasing with each exhale. Each time you inhale, visualize your body being filled with vitality and energy. Less is more, the simple life. Pursue knowledge, gain daily. Pursue Tao, lose daily. Lose and again lose. Arrive at non-doing. Sung Shang-Xing, the 7th patriarch and leader of the Dragon Gate Taoist sect during the 16th century, wrote, "Those who seek the Tao don't use ears and eyes. They look within, not without. In this way, the pursuit of loss is better than gain, as true knowledge has no connection to what you have learned about or achieved in the outside world. True knowledge comes from sitting still and observing the self. Wisdom comes with the ability to be still. Just look and just listen. No more is needed. Being still, looking and listening activates the non-conceptual intelligence within you. Let stillness direct your words and actions." Have you ever noticed how the wisest, most purposeful insights or epiphanies tend to surface in stillness or quiet? The inner critic can be loud and intrusive, adding to the chaos. But the voice of wisdom carries with it a sense of serenity and stillness. It's the non-conceptual intelligence Toll talks about above. Finding inner peace is important because it connects you to yourself, to nature, and to others in a profound way. Constant chaos and reactivity keep you stuck in old thought patterns and behavioral loops. It's in stillness that you can spot these patterns and make different choices. Simplicity. Return to infancy, return to the uncarved block, return to simplicity. An uncarved block of wood is filled with unlimited potential, but once it is carved, distinctions have been made and limits have been created. To return to your true nature is to be like an uncarved block or like an infant. You are still not impacted or are unspoiled by socialization and arbitrary judgments. The Tao Te Ching says that we should begin to refine ourselves by practicing the art of simplicity. We should subtract from or reduce our worldly and intellectual pursuits and accumulations. Less rather than more connects us to the Tao and our true natures. Along with simplicity, Taoism also teaches nothingness and emptiness through the concept of Wu Wei. Wu is defined as not or without. Wei is then defined as to do. Literally translating the meaning of the two words is acting upon something. In Taoism, the phrase Wu Wei can be interpreted as meaning to act, but not to possess the act. The meaning of not possessing the act is simply that one should not be attached to the outcome of the action. One should simply just act, not thinking of what the action will bring to them. It means to follow the flow of nature without trying, rather than constantly trying to fight situations and control them, which is unnatural and self-defeating. It is better to understand the true nature of the Tao, behaving completely naturally and in tune with the natural order of things. When is enough enough? The Taoist masters valued inner wealth over outer wealth and achievements. One can attain a higher rank in a company or become rich and still lack a calm heart and mind. For some, whatever they have or achieve is never enough. This eternal search for more often distracts us from appreciation for what we already have. We are caught up in trying to obtain the very best of everything in life. We constantly compare and contrast. If something doesn't match up to our standards, we then become unsatisfied with the outcome. As a species, we have lost the ability to simply enjoy being alive because we are so driven by dubious values such as the obsessive worship and pursuit of our modern-day gods: money, beauty, power, intellect. I quote, "But here's what is weird but true in the day-to-day trenches of life. There is no such thing as not worshipping. Everybody worships. The only choice we get is what to worship. And the probably most compelling reason for maybe choosing some spiritual type thing to worship is that everything else you worship will pretty much eat you alive. If you worship money and things, if this is what you place real meaning in life on, then you will never have enough. You will never feel like you have enough. Worship your own body and beauty and sexual allure, and you will always feel ugly. And when time and age start showing, you will die a million deaths before they finally plant you." On one level, we know this already. It's been codified as myths, proverbs, cliches, epigrams, parables, in other words, the skeleton of every great story. The whole trick is keeping the truth up front in daily consciousness. Worship power and you will end up feeling weak and afraid, and you will need ever more power over others to numb you to your own fear. Worship your intellect. Being seen as smart, you will end up feeling stupid, a fraud, always on the verge of being found out. The insidious thing about these forms of worship is not that they are evil or sinful, it is that they are unconscious. They are default settings. They are the kind of worship you just gradually slip into day after day, getting more and more selective about what you see and how you measure value without ever being fully aware that that's what you're doing. And the so-called real world will not discourage you from operating on your default settings, because the so-called real world of men and money and power hums merely along on the fuel of fear and anger and frustration and craving and the worship of self. The Taoist way of thinking says that we should get rid of these wants or desires from life. When we limit ourselves from our greatest desires, we are able to achieve moments of the purest simplicity. Conquering others takes force. Conquering yourself is true strength. Knowing what is enough is wealth. There's no greater calamity than not knowing what is enough. There's no greater fault than desire for success. Therefore, knowing that is enough, is always enough. The lesson here is that if we focus on achieving more and more, we don't remember to appreciate what we already have and who we truly are. Thus, it is imperative that we take time to cultivate a sense of contentment with how things are right here, right now. The I Ching teaches us to see situations for what they are, and then see what needs to be changed, if anything. If something that needs changing can be changed, it is worth taking action to do so. If it cannot be changed, the strategy is to learn how to adapt to that situation. In order to do so, conquer yourself by accepting yourself, and you will learn when enough is enough. Humility. The softest thing in the world excels over the strongest. Therefore, those who would be above must speak as if they are below. Those who would lead must speak as if they are behind. Because the sage isn't contentious, no one struggles against him. Wang Dao said 8 feet of water can float a 1,000-ton ship. The Taoist masters often refer to the water's ability to wear down even the hardest rocks. Water, being soft and flexible, excels over the strong. We can put this to use in our daily interactions. When someone looks for a fight, we can win by being flexible and soft and thus avoid conflict. Also, when we need something from someone, regardless of our rank in the organization, we must approach that person with humility and from a place of softness and appreciation. Lessons from the sages. Live in a good place. Keep your mind deep. Treat others well. Stand by your word. Make fair rules. Do the right thing. Work when it's time. In the search for a calmer spirit, we must still tend to the practicalities of daily life. The sage finds the balance between yin, which is quiescence, rest and introversion, and yang, which is motion, interaction and engagement in worldly affairs. Work when it's time means equally that one should work when necessary, but also stop when the job is complete. Many of us work very long hours, some by choice, some not. In either case, there's a time for rest, and the key to a healthy mind and body is finding the time to rest after working, and then resume work only after resting. The great Taoist sage Zhuangzi wrote in his self-titled book that one should follow one's heart, and that acting in sync with one's nature will benefit society as a whole. We do this by being nothing more or less than ourselves, who we really are. Recognizing our position in the world, our abilities and limitations, and then acting accordingly will bring happiness and inner peace.